You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast. Oh, you're welcome. Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold.
Today, excited.
Me too. Today we welcome our friend Yasmin Morshedian, founder of YM Legal Services with over a decade of experience in the legal field. Yasmin started her career as a paralegal in civil litigation and is now a certified court reporter with her own business, making sure her team delivers exceptional service to her clients. Yasmin's located in South Florida. How are you doing?
Good. Fantastic. How are you?
Good. It's so awesome to have you. And before we get into the questions for you, I just want to thank you so much for being a sponsor for Miami Connect back in January 2025. I had a great time. I hope it was a worthwhile event for you. Good. It was good. I mean, we met on Instagram like a few years ago, and like it's just crazy to have all these friendships and connections come to life. So thanks for being a sponsor. Like we totally appreciate it.
I love being a sponsor and I love the event. Like I told you, very humble people and attorneys that I got to meet. I really enjoy the time, and YM Legal always wants to give back to the community one way or another. So
yeah, that's so nice
to do that and look forward to doing it more.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Miami's great. And you're also a founding member of Lawyer Stories Connect, which is our next big initiative. So thanks so much for like all of your support throughout the last few years with Lawyer Stories. It doesn't go unnoticed. I always appreciate anybody who takes an interest in like what I'm trying to achieve here with Lawyer Stories. So thank you.
I love being part of it.
Amazing. So tell us, you're in South Florida, but I don't think you're a native Floridian. Tell us your story about how you got here to Florida.
It's funny because I always, when people ask down here, I always say, "Can you guess?" And of course, it's always Latin. But
it's always what?
Latin, like a Latin country.
Latin. Okay,
There's so many Latin people down here.
That's a fair guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was born and raised in Sweden.
Amazing.
I speak fluent Swedish. And I speak Farsi. My parents are Persian.
Okay.
And I moved to South Florida when I was 18. I went to college here.
So before you go any further, I want to slow you down and ask just about your story a little bit, like moving over when you were 18. What was that like? And do you know like why your parents came to South Florida?
So they actually stayed. My mom stayed
in
Sweden. Okay. Yes. My sister and my aunt, they were here. My aunt lived in New York. My sister moved here, and I came and visited her when I was 12. And when I came to visit her, I said, that's my goal. I'm going to move here when I'm 18, and I graduated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's literally like an 18 thing. You're doing it when you're 18. Okay, because that's got you. And so your parents are still there?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They are.
All right.
And then my sister ended up actually moving back to Sweden.
Okay.
And then my aunt ended up moving to California.
Wow.
So I'm here on my own.
So when did they move? You were 18 when you moved. Like how old were you when they took off?
I think I was 10 or 11, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, meaning like when they went back, you were 18 when you moved here. And then they left. Like, so were you like 25? Were you like 26 when they went back to?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think I was 27 or 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about so you come here, kind of a new place, even though you've been here once. Like what drew you to the legal profession?
So I was never a science person.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure that out in college because I was failing all my science classes. I hated math. I hated So there was only one option pretty much left. And I remember back then just trying to navigate
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to get into. And ever since I was little, people would always say, you're probably going to end up being a lawyer because I would always speak up when something was wrong.
Okay.
Um, I started as a legal assistant secretary,
Yep.
and then I moved up to being a paralegal with a specific firm for many years. And I learned a lot. I was the partner's almost right hand.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So I would even review motions and, correct them and send them back to the lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you use
And
a
then
red pen? Were you like, here's a red mark on like your motion that you did, like get this back to me corrected?
honestly, it was more emails back and
Okay.
forth.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So after that, it was a transition from actually trying to get into law school. I didn't do well on the LSAT,
Yeah.
which
Me
a
neither.
lot of people I know they didn't do well. Um, so then I got an opportunity to start doing court reporting.
That's amazing. So tell me, before you go into that, tell me like, was that ever in like the back of your mind, like shifting from like paralegal to court reporting, and like what interested you about that? Because obviously you had all this litigation skills, and we all know paralegals do like most of the like a lot of the lawyers sign off on stuff. They go to court, but paralegals are like really like in the weeds. I think like doing a lot of the stuff. So like, how did you know like about court reporting?
Yeah, so it was a transition. It was a hard transition that ended up being something great because I studied for the LSAT during the holidays and right before the holidays. And then when I didn't pass, I was like, okay, I took time off. It's time to go back to getting a full-time job again. So when I started applying for these jobs, no one was hiring at that time because it was the holidays. People give out, firms give out bonuses, and uh, I couldn't find a job.
Hmm.
So one of my friends, she worked in the accounting department of a court reporting agency,
Okay.
and she introduced me to that company, and I interviewed with them. And
Okay. Okay.
they wanted me on specifically also for the reason of knowing the judicial process and having that background because it's easier to merge into getting that experience,
Sure.
already have that background. So
Sure.
it was actually something that kind of was hard on me because it was not something that I was specifically looking for, but it was something that ended up being so great.
So you ended up leaving your job as a paralegal to study for the LSAT.
Right.
Okay. So tell me, like, in your own words, I know this is sort of like a simple question, but in your own words, like, what does a court reporter do?
So a court reporter basically takes down the record in any litigation setting for
Okay.
depositions, for hearings, for trials. And so basically, without us, there's no record. So if
Right.
you wanted to go back to the judge and reference something later on, and if you didn't have a court reporter, then there's no record of it. So that's
Yeah.
basically what a
That's
court.
like such important work. Like,
It is,
especially like
especially in litigation.
I would think like being very detail oriented and like being
Yes.
very specific is so important. So that's really difficult too because you have to pay attention the whole time. You know, sometimes people
Right.
like mind wanders. Like you could have a job where like, oh, I'll look at my phone for five. Not that I do this, but your mind can want. But it was court reporting. You gotta be very focused in.
All right.
So how long did you work for somebody else for a little while doing court reporting?
I worked for multiple court reporting agencies,
Okay.
big ones and small ones. And then what ended up happening is when I started going to court, because before 2020 happened, everything was in person.
Right.
I started meeting the attorneys that I used to work for
Mm.
as a paralegal.
Right.
because I worked at multiple firms for it was over, I would say 7 years at that point. And they would be like, Yasmin, what are you doing in the courthouse? Because they remember me as a paralegal. And I would tell them I do court reporting now. And then I remember one client specifically said, well, I'll just use you. And I just thought in my head, well, I'm not sure how that would work. So I gave him my information. And then because you're a 1099 contractor with the agencies, you're technically allowed to.
Right.
So it started with one client saying that, and we connected, and then I figured everything out on my own on how to
Yeah.
do everything. And
But
then I
when you
know,
saw your own old firm in court, were they like, come back and work for us as like a paralegal? Like they didn't even like.
so they know that court reporters don't necessarily work for, like, you're not set to one agency.
Right, right. I'm just saying, like you worked with them for a while, so maybe they'd offer you another job, or like you tried to go back after the
Oh,
other.
as a
Yeah,
paralegal,
yeah.
it was honestly a very short time.
Oh,
It was
okay.
like a
Gotcha.
month, and
Gotcha.
I remember specifically, it was in December.
Okay.
And it was like whoever I would reach out to was like, well, not right now, maybe later on. And then at the same time, I was speaking with my friend that
Right.
was working in the accounting department. So it just, one thing led to another really quickly. If
Yeah.
it were to be like January or February or later on, maybe it would have worked out to continue
Yeah.
as a paralegal. So,
Yeah. But it
um,
sounds like this obviously came to you as like something that was like meant to be, like doing
correct.
like the court reporting thing.
Yeah.
So you go to court, you connect with your first client. Did you have some idea? Like, tell me like what it was like to be like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to start my own job. Like, when did you have those feelings?
At the beginning, I didn't think like that at all. I
Okay.
just thought in my head, I'm just doing something I really enjoy. And then it is what it is. And I'm just happy to help out because I do love helping and I do love making connections with, attorneys, people that are kind and humble. Um, it wasn't until 2020 when it was just started, one referral after the other because of the prices that I was offering.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, so I would say for the last 4.5 years, it's only been referral based.
Wow, good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. That's amazing. Tell me about, so tell us about YM Legal Services. So you start your own, what was that like to start your own business?
So at first, it was before COVID, and it was just like a Sunbiz thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was like, I'm just gonna set it up. I have no expectations. But then when I started seeing the referrals coming in and my clientele growing, I think that's when it hit me that, okay, this is starting to become something, in your head as an entrepreneur. You're like, I'm doing this little thing, it's not a big
Right,
deal.
right, right,
Uh,
right.
but then because also I feel like as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to compliment yourself that you're doing a great
Oh,
job.
interesting. Tell me more about that.
I feel like it's one of the hardest thing as an entrepreneur because when you have a boss or you have a manager, you always have someone coming, maybe clapping you on the back saying what a great job you did, or the opposite,
Not always.
horrible job,
Or yeah, there
But
you go. What a horrible job. That's a
no,
little better.
but really, and as an entrepreneur, I think for me sometimes because I would say I am an emotional person.
Okay.
Just in general, maybe not so much with the business, but I feel like that's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur, that nobody comes and pats you on the back and say, hey, good job, you did great today, or
Right, right.
you had a great month. There's so much on your shoulders. There's so much you need to be responsible for
Yeah.
and think of. So I would say that's really hard.
Well, I think
It,
you're doing a great job. So, I
thank
mean, you made a
you.
very good decision coming to the Lawyer Stories event and, hanging out with us and being connected with us. And, you're growing your business. Tell us about, like, do you have people working for you? Like, tell us about tell us about YM Legal Services and who your staff is right now.
So we do have an admin team
Okay.
currently. It's the three of us. So it's growing, little by little. We have over 20 court reporters. I have,
Wow.
yes,
Are they all busy all the time?
yes, they are.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes,
So
that's amazing.
thank you. Yes, it's grown very quickly in the past 5 years, more
Yep.
than what I
Okay.
expected. Um, and then I do have about 5 or 6 videographers
Okay.
and also interpreters. So it's
Well,
a
tell me
full,
about I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure I
no,
get
it's
this
fine.
out, but like, tell me what the videographers do.
So the videographers, they attend proceedings like
Okay.
I would say CMEs, IMEs.
Okay. So we're not talking videographers that were like at the Lawyer Stories Connect event. Like
No.
we're talking like professional. That's why I asked. So we're talking like professional, like in the courtroom, like we have to film this type of thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a great service you guys offer.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, tell us more about what
That's okay.
YM Legal Services offers to the people of South Florida.
So we provide full service court reporting. We have videographers for prenup, CMEs, IMEs, for videotape depositions. We do have interpreters, most languages, I would say.
Wow.
I
Okay.
got a request a couple of weeks ago for Greek. So we do
Okay.
Greek, Russian, Spanish, Creole. We have all of that. And then we also do trial support. So if there's attorneys that go to trial and they need like TV set up or they need playbacks, we do that as well.
That's amazing. That's a lot
Yeah,
of stuff. Like you guys really support lawyers in a very important way.
yeah. Thank
What
you.
what would you say some of the qualities lawyers should look for in getting a court reporting company aside from just the lowest price?
I do think it's important to kind of assess what type of firm you are.
Okay.
So, for example, I know a lot of attorneys in the lawyer story community. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them are solo
Yeah, a
practitioners.
lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that for solo practitioners, it's really important to look for a court reporting agency like ours. Hint, hint.
Totally.
It's because you're not a number to us. So we tailor to your needs. So I know a lot of my clients personally, they can text me. We know what they like, what they don't like, what type of personality they have, which reporter they would get along with.
That's
So I
amazing.
think, yeah, so I think for law firms, it's really important to look at what would best suit you. Like if you're a small solo firm, you don't want to look for, use a bigger company for your court reporting needs because you might want that personal one-on-one
Right,
touch
right.
offer. Now, if you're a firm that has 200 attorneys, then maybe you don't really care. And maybe you do, but I know that for solo practitioners, it's really important. Sometimes they forget, or maybe they don't even have a paralegal or legal assistant and they're doing everything themselves. They're able to text and not be on hold or, have to go through different departments just to get the help they need because really they don't have the time, right? So I think it's really important to kind of assess what type of firm you are and what you're looking for,
Yep.
not just prices.
Yasmin, so tell me what areas of law need I know it's litigation, but like, is it just personal injury? Tell me the areas of law that you were assisting with, like as a court reporter.
Yeah, so it's basically any type of law that we assist with except
Okay.
real estate and immigration that I could think of.
Except real estate or immigration?
Yeah, so immigration and real estate don't really do any type of litigation. Those are the type of practice areas that I can think of.
Okay, very good. So, and you've worked with like just runs the gamut, personal injury, just like
Yeah, personal injury, med
wherever there's
mal.
litigation, you will
Yeah,
find one.
even criminal,
What's that?
even criminal.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
As you see, we do have like a decent community in South Florida, so we're definitely going to try to like get you out to like anybody. And if you see people that you think you would vibe well with and like just want to connect with, like Instagram, whatever, I'm happy to make those warm introductions.
I
Um,
really
and you
appreciate
know, we
it.
really appreciate like our partners and to lawyer stories, so I'm happy to do it. I like doing that actually. It's something that I enjoy.
Mhm.
What do you wish attorneys knew about the process that could make their work like more efficient?
So for attorneys that know this, there's two things I would say that I recommend to lawyers because it gets really stressful for them. They forget, they have a lot on their plate. One of the number one things I do recommend is order the transcript right away.
Like
Um,
that.
so basically, it maybe sound like it would benefit me or my company, but actually not at all, because what ends up happening is like they forget to order the transcript, and then all of a sudden the judge says, hey, we're going to trial, or we need this, or all of a sudden they're like, oh, we don't have the transcript. And now they order it as a rush and they pay extra, right?
Extra for the rush or extra for the
Yeah,
transcript? For
yeah.
the rush.
Extra for the rush. So it's the
Gotcha.
transcript, but for a rush. So I would just say, like, regardless, most of the time you will end up needing the information. Anyways, you're gonna need the transcript. So just order it right away and have it. Just there's always going
Great
to be
advice.
need of it. Yeah. And then another thing, something they don't think about often, but there is a lot of attorneys that forget that it turns out to like a conversational
Oh yeah. Like
kind of
inside the courtroom, so do you have to type all that up?
correct. Yeah. So it's just a lot of attorneys forget to kind of be mindful of that.
So
And
do you have
that's
like pages about the Super Bowl and stuff, like people talking about like
pretty much
sporting events?
I mean, obviously you can go off record
Yeah.
and so forth, but what ends up happening is when they speak over each other, the transcript ends up not being as good as they want
Okay.
because there's so much overlap between two
So
people.
that's not a given that, and then going back to like the last question, that's not a given that you'll get the transcript. You actually have to order it.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless you're a client with like automatic orders.
Gotcha. Okay. So you
Yeah.
have like clients that, okay. So if you're like a client of YM, you'll get the transcript, but like the first time around, you gotta, if it's like a one shot deal sort of thing, you have to order it.
So you can, if you're a client that has that set up with us, that your automatic orders, then you'll get it automatically. But
Got
if
it.
not, you have to order it after the court proceeding.
All right. So tell us some secrets to like how you build long term lasting relationships with law firms and individual attorneys.
I think it's quick responses. I've
Okay, that's
noticed
good.
that it's so important.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I think one of my biggest things is always respond almost immediately. Of course, there's always, things that are taking place before, but for example, I'm always aware of my phone. We're always monitoring our emails. There will never be an email that goes unnoticed or, not answered to for a very long time. So
Okay.
I think consistency in that way is really, really important. It shows that you're serious. It shows that you care.
Yep.
Um, so that for me has worked. And then of course, a lot of time put in just growing and not letting things fall through the cracks.
That's awesome. So, as a court reporter, just stuff that I'm interested in, like, do you know the judges? If you're in the
I do
courtroom,
some of them.
you get to know
Yes.
the judge. So you must have seen some like wild stuff, like heard some wild stuff in court. Like anything you can share or no?
I can share something and
I mean,
my
I don't
client,
want to put you on the spot, but if there's
no, not
something
at
that you're
all.
thinking of, like, maybe there's.
No, not at all. Actually, I was in front of the same judge, and this is something that occurred in 2023. And when I got in front of him, 2 or 3 weeks ago for a court proceeding for a hearing, he remembered me,
Yep.
and he actually brought it up. We had two attorneys that got physical with each other in the
Really?
room in front of the, yeah.
Oh, this was 2023?
Unfortunately,
Wow.
2023 in a trial. Yeah. It's one of my good clients. And I usually don't get nervous about things, but I got a little bit uncomfortable because I
Yeah.
was standing right next to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's the craziest that's happened.
Wow. So that was in the
Yeah.
proceeding, they started going at it?
Yes.
That's crazy. All right.
Yeah.
What,
So,
we talked about, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
So we talked about COVID before, and did COVID, how did that impact your business? Because I think you had just started.
So COVID actually grew my business
Okay. How did you do that
tremendously.
online, like as a court reporter?
So because it was remote, it was also easier for me to kind of handle
Okay.
uh being like not having to drive far distances and be able to attend to the few clients that I had
Right.
without it being like a scheduling conflict until I
Right.
actually started hiring court reporters. So, and then of course, you're not driving in traffic, so you're able to work on the transcript and, do the admin stuff without stressing. So that was actually a very like high growing point for YM Legal Services.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think like the back to work thing is an issue for a lot of people going back to
Yeah.
the office, but for sure. So you know the judges, you probably get seen by a lot of attorneys. You could probably get more business by being in the courtroom, right? Just kind of slinging your card around. Like, have
I
you?
haven't done that in a little while
All
though,
right. Well,
because
you don't need to because you've got 20 people working for you, and you're like you sounds like business is booming. So
thank you.
how much have you learned about the law, like being a court reporter? Like you probably know like the rules of evidence better than like a lot of attorneys because you're sitting right into those trials.
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot. Like sometimes it's almost even to a point that I see newer lawyers and I'm just, of course we don't say anything, but sometimes it's like, aren't you gonna object? So it's like automatic. And I would know exactly what to, I wouldn't know the case, but I kind of know how almost even how to do, a depo
That's
and
amazing. Good for
how
you.
to ask
Have you
questions. So
ever have you thought about like retaking? I think some places have done away with the LSAT. To be honest, I didn't do very well on it either. I mean, I went. I'll talk to you about that another time. If you ever want to hype up conversation, talk to me. I will give it to you.
I
Have you
know
ever
a lot
thought
of
about
lawyers.
what's
Yeah.
that?
No, I know a lot of lawyers that didn't do
Have you
well.
ever thought about going back? Because I know, and I only asked that because you tried once. I wouldn't have asked that if you just kind of went straight to this and you had no interest. But I'm only asking that because you did want to, you sounds like a while ago you did try.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Only because I know I would, yeah, I would need to get a full ride, first of all. So I
Yeah.
know my
Yeah.
score would have
See,
to be
that's
really high.
what's that? Sorry.
No, I would like I would need to get a full ride for it to be worth it. And because
Yes.
I already know that I struggled with it, and I think and I'm not blaming it on that, right? I know there's a lot of lawyers out there that speak more than two languages, but I do believe that some of it, like the reading comprehension, was definitely a language
Yeah.
barrier. That made everything much harder.
Yeah.
So, but so because I know I didn't do that well, I would have to get a really high score and then get a full
Well,
ride.
what I'm
So,
saying is, I think some places have like done away with the LSAT. I don't know for
oh,
sure.
got it. Okay.
I've heard, and I wish they had when I was doing it. I got, what a
Yeah.
mess. All right, but I'll tell. That's another story for another day. So, no, so tell us like how important is quality service to YM Legal Services?
I think it's one of my number one thing, and I always highlight it.
Okay.
It's definitely number one. Like I even train my admin to answer emails a certain way.
Okay.
Um, so important to me because a lot of the scheduling and communication is through email. So I never wanted to be like a misunderstanding or read the wrong way. Again, it's really, really important, and I put a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah.
And my clients can also speak for that. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check around with some people to see if they need a court reporter because I think I don't know. I think YM Legal Services is where it's at.
thank you so much.
Did we leave anything out, Yaz? Like, is there anything else you want to say about court reporting or any other services that you offer?
No, I think that's it, Benny, because I know we both have a hard stop.
Well, no, not. It's fine. I want to, I want to
Okay.
give you all the time that you need. So,
No,
like,
no, it's fine.
if you have anything else that you want to talk about, tell
No.
us.
No, let me think. No, I think I mentioned the 101 tailored services,
Yep.
right? Yeah, I think that's it, Benny.
101 tailored services. What's that?
Like the relationship I have with the lawyers, that
Yeah.
they get that 101 boutique type
Right.
of service. Did I mention that?
I don't think so.
I didn't?
101.
I did.
You did. Okay, mate. I'm sorry if I missed
No,
it.
it's okay.
Yeah, I think
I
I think you did, like with the court reporting, like with the reports that come out, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we went over.
Yeah.
I think
No,
we
I
went
mean, hey, look,
over a lot.
congratulations on all your success. Like
you.
it's really cool to be connected with you. It was awesome to meet you in Miami. We're gonna do it again next year. Maybe you
I
can.
will definitely be there and count on me.
That's all I will. And we can you can come to New York if you want, May 1st. But
I love New York.
so is that so we have everything. I'm gonna, stay there, Yaz. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.